So, I'm developing this little stupid video game about a world made of cubes, where you can build and do whatever you want without limits. And I really need help with the music for the game. Can you help me? Sure, absolutely. Great, I don't need anything too elaborated. Something simple will be fine.
I've been playing video games for as long as I can remember. I never had a proper console, not until I got a Xbox, so most of the games I played were browser games on a Windows XP PC. And even with that, I still had the chance to try out some great games without a console or PC. And when I finally got my first and only console, it was something I devoted a lot of time to. Way too much. That's when I really dove into video games. I tried out tons of different games, not just the ones on the console, but also emulated ones. I played some incredible games, but I never paid attention to something that eventually everyone noticed at some point. The music. My 10 years old self only cared about how cool the next level will be and whether or not I faceplant while jumping around. And it's because of that attitude that I realized what really excited me most about video games was the gameplay, the mechanics, and above all, how fun it could be. That didn't stay the same as I grew older, but that's not the point. At that time in my life, every game I tried just didn't spark any interest in one specific thing. The music. Again, every game I played only caught my attention because of his gameplay and nothing else. Until one game came along that completely changed the way I listened to video game music. And that game was Undertale.
Sans?
But that's not what I'm going to talk about now. For now, let's talk about Minecraft. While using my console, there was always one game I loved with all my heart. And that game was Minecraft. But that love never really went beyond his gameplay. The freedom it gave me, and all the cool stuff you could do, that was something that totally blew my young mind. And even though I didn't get to try the Java version until I got my first computer, there was always something that kept me in that game. I think this is the perfect time to admit that I was the only idiot who used to turn off Minecraft music. I don't know if anyone else ever did that, but my current self will probably strangle my younger self for commit that crime. Even so, I grew up playing Minecraft without really caring much about its music, and that stayed true for us a long time. I want to make it clear that back then I barely even know anything about C418, just that he had a weird name and he was the only composer at that time, something that is not longer the case. After the whole journey I had with Toby Fox's game, the way I view video games changed significantly. For the first time, games started to feel truly alive while I played them, and I finally felt like I was experiencing every part of what made a video game special. So, curious, I went back and revisited some of the games I played. Some of them surprised me, others weren't that special. But when I tried Minecraft again on my Xbox, it was absurd. Absurd how I had overlooked one of the most unique soundtracks I had ever heard for so long. So, after becoming a huge fan of C418 because of that, I decided to talk about the genius and creativity behind the Minecraft soundtrack. Narrated by me. Daniel Rosenfeld, better known as C418, is a musician and a sound engineer from Germany that started making music thanks to his brother, and it was also through him that he came up with his alias. His brother was known as C418, so Daniel chose a similar name. Now, C418's journey wasn't easy. He started making music in 2006, and released his first song in 2007. BPS and Mixes were his first two albums, and in his own words, since it was his first time composing, it was obvious the music wasn't going to be at top quality. And for a fan of C418, listening to two of these albums feels strange. They are very different from the style Daniel will develop years later. But even so, it was always interesting to see a composer's first works. Before releasing the album that would launch him into popularity, Daniel worked on 7 albums, not counting BPS or mixes. And 3 of them are especially important. Not to discredit the other 4 albums, but Circles, Little Things, and life-changing moments C minor in pictures hold more weight in C418's career. Circles was C418's first album, released in 2008, made specifically for a video game. That's right, Volume Alpha wasn't his first game-related album, but the main reason Circle wasn't well known beyond the fact that Daniel was still most known in 2008 was because Circles was one of the many cancelled or abandoned projects he worked on. And that's something Daniel had to deal with over and over again. Circles is probably one of the biggest examples of a cancelled game he worked on, but it was far from the last. Now, Little Things, on the other hand, is an album that, as the name suggests, is a collection of small tracks that C418 compiled into one album. The significance is similar to Circles, that some of the songs were also written for a game that was eventually abandoned. Now, this last album is different beyond the video games. Because, yes, some songs on this album were made for cancelled games just like before, but this time, the album has a personal weight. Life-changing moments in Minor in Pictures is perhaps the album that captures the before and after of Daniel's life. He was made when he had just quit his job, and the German military had warned him that if he didn't start working again, he'd be drafted. Right when he had finally gathered to courage to take a new step in life and make a change. Now, no, Daniel didn't have to join to the military. Luckily, he only had to do 6 months of social service in Germany. But that doesn't take away from the fear he went through. Besides being arguably his best album after Volume Alpha and Beta, it also contains some very interesting tracks that were used for various things. Game jams, small indie projects, and fun fact is were here when Droppy was first released. Yes, the same Droppy from the Minecraft album. At the time, Minecraft's first trailer had been released and it used that same song, so Daniel included it in the album too. There's also a song titled Minecraft in that album, essentially a remix of the Minecraft theme. It's similar in structure to Little Things, but has a greater emotion significantly for Daniel, and it was his last big album before the release of Volume Alpha. Let's go back to 2007 now. That year, Daniel became an active in an indie game community called Dixors, where he met several games developers and worked on various game soundtracks. Many of those games contribute songs to the earlier albums I mentioned, but most important, it was here that he met Marcus Persson, Notch, the creator of Minecraft. At the time, Minecraft was still in its early development stage, but Notch noticed Daniel and gave him full freedom to develop the game's soundtrack. And that's how Daniel started working on Volume Alpha. Now, when we talk about Volume Alpha and Volume Beta, we're not just talking about the work that gave C418 recognition. We're talking about Daniel's magnum opus. Maybe not his most personal work, but without a doubt, the 2 albums that launched his career as an independent composer. Volume Alpha was his first commercial release, and his most successful one too. Now, most of you probably click on this video because of that specific album, and that's understandable. Over the years, Minecraft's soundtrack has become one of the most recognizable in video game history, even reaching cult status in the industry. Unlike games like Undertale, which use incredible technicals to build their soundtracks, Minecraft's brilliance lies in something else. His minimalism and his simplicity. It's a soundtrack that grabs your attention with how subtle and ambient it is. The first track from Volume Alpha, Key, is a perfect example. It lasts 1 minute and 5 seconds, and it's probably the simplest and most unique song on the album, and also one of the shortest. Other examples include Oxygen, Dry Hands, and Dead, which, at just 41 seconds, is the shortest track of all of them. From other hand, Volume Beta, while still minimal, introduced percussion, a new element compared to Alpha. It experiments a little more while keeping the signature atmosphere tone. It also has greater variety in track lengths, from 10 and even 15 minutes. They are, without question, Daniel's most memorable albums, and one of the most beloved in all of video game music. But did you know the nostalgia you feel when listening to these albums is intentional? We're used to game soundtracks playing at specific times when you reach a certain point in the history. Minecraft, however, works differently. Notch programmed Minecraft's music using an internal timer that randomly counts down. Once the countdown hits 0, the game picks a track for a certain pool, depending on whether you are in a specific biome, in a cave, or just on the main menu. This randomness is the essence of Minecraft's atmosphere. It's what makes the music from Volume Alpha and Beta feel so nostalgic, because they don't play it at set times. Instead, they accompany you randomly while you're mining, fighting mobs, or even just walking. And when something significant happens, that is what you notice the music. You associate it with that moment, and that's how it stays with you. You might not care much about how Notch pulled that off, and I don't fully get the tick system either, but if you're interested, there's a whole explanation in the Minecraft Wiki. Between Alpha and Beta, 2 years passed. During that time, Daniel released 4 albums, 2 of which are particularly worth mentioning. But let me take a quick detour to talk about 7 years of server data. It's a compilation of 7 years. Yes, some fun facts. He made it just before the first Minecon in 2011. He had an nasal infection that affected his ears and made him lose his sense of balance. And last one, he collaborated with deadmau. Wait, deadmau? deadmau? Yes. Apparently, C418 had a few little collaboration with deadmau. Probably the weirdest and most interesting takeaway from this album. Now, back on track, 72 Minutes of Fame and Catamaran Snatch were the most significant work before the release of Volume Beta.
72 Minutes of Fame
It was the first album he released after becoming a freelancer and making music full-time thanks to the success of Volume Alpha. Catamaran Snatch was an album made during a Mojang sponsored game jam, in collaboration with other composer. Everything was looking good after the release of Volume Beta until things fell apart. When C418 developed Volume Alpha and Beta, Notch gave Daniel full rights to the music. That meant the aliens could earn revenue for the albums, and the tracks used in Minecraft were just under license. There was a deal between Daniel and Marcus, and it stayed that way until 2014, when Microsoft bought Mojang and took over all the rights. From that point, Microsoft began demanding full ownership from any future Minecraft music. Now, according to the source, C418 was working on a third Minecraft album at that time, an album fans have dubbed Volume Gamma, which was expected around 2018. But it never came out. Because Daniel didn't agree with Microsoft's new licenses policies. He insists on retaining ownership of his work. No agreement was reached. So C418 cut ties with Minecraft and Microsoft, leaving behind a nearly complete album that he couldn't release due to legal restrictions. The album was too closely tied to the Minecraft name, and without the rights, he couldn't publish it. The song Caswell is the last track Daniel made from Minecraft, along with Alpha and The End, but none of the 3 were ever officially added to the game. And just like that, Daniel's journey with Minecraft ended, the game that gave him the chance to live off his music. But that's not the end. Before Mojang acquisition, C418 had also worked with Mark Person on another project called C418, a sandbox game that fans dubbed Minecraft's spiritual sequel. Daniel loved the concept and was very disappointed when the game was cancelled. After parting ways with Mojang, others stepped in to handle Minecraft music from later updates, following the ambient style Daniel established. Composers like Aaron Cheroff, Kumi Tanioka, and most notably Lena Raine took over. They handed over their rights to Microsoft, which is why C418's music and the official Minecraft soundtrack are completely separated on YouTube and Spotify and everywhere. As for Daniel, he released 3 albums after leaving Mojang, the last called Excursion in 2018, his final work. After that, we didn't know nothing about him.
Until this year.
In 2025, when everyone thought Daniel's career had ended, he returned to score a new game called Wanderstop, releasing an album with 89 different songs, plus another 36 tracks in a follow-up album. These 2 albums, while not his best, are possibly his most personal, even more than changing moments. From the start, Daniel knew Wanderstop will be different. First of all, the sound. When he worked on Minecraft, he only had to worry about the music. With Wanderstop, he handled everything audio related. Music, sound effects, the internal radio, dynamic transitions, all of them. All developed by Daniel alone. But not only that, while working on Wanderstop music, Daniel realized the game's story reflects a lot of his own life. From 2018 to the release of Wanderstop in 2025, Daniel experienced serious burnout and emotional exhaustion. But even then, he couldn't stop working, something that it was tied to the ADHD he was diagnosed with. In Wanderstop, the central theme is emotional exhaustion and learning to slow down. In Daniel's own words, scoring Wanderstop came from a place of trauma more than anything else. Each track is soaked in the emotional state he went through, serving almost like a personal audio therapy. This turned his work on the game into a sonic mirror of his internal work, and a way to heal. And with that, we conclude our journey through C418's story and his role in Minecraft. A composer who, without even expecting too much, ended up shaping one of the most important video games for our time, with a soundtrack that, despite its simplicity, left a permanent mark on millions of players. From his early music experiment to cancelled projects, deeply personal albums, and finally the success of Volume Alpha and Beta, Daniel proved that with consistency, vision, and a bit of luck, you can change an entire industry. His departure from Minecraft wasn't dramatic, but it did mark a turning point. And even if Microsoft chose another path, the essence of what Daniel created is still there, even if his music no longer plays in newer versions of the game. But with Wanderstop, it became clear he was never just a lucky composer. He's still an artist with something to say.
If you like the video, I really appreciate it if you subscribe and leave a comment. And that's all. Thanks. See ya.